Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is, we're doing a redo, Rob Imperato. Hey, Rob.
Hi, Laurie. Thank you again.
So glad you're back. I think we were trying to figure out, I think it's been, according to Rob, it's been almost 2 years to the day since he was on. And so it's like, it seems like a good time to catch up and see what you've been doing.
And it's hard to believe it's been 2 years since I've seen you.
I know,
so it's always
know.
wonderful energy connecting with you.
We've been kind of doing email stuff and things
Yes.
like that, so that's good. When last we spoke, you were doing some really innovative things with teens, which I had the most admiration for because that's a rough group. And so are you still doing that?
Yes, I am, because as this evolves and I evolve, there's so much more that I'm learning and understanding about what they're going through. If I can express, I went to the local high school and I spent meeting two separate groups, the elite of the elite. One was called the out-of-towners and the other mastermind group. And sitting with them to discuss what their great stresses were.
Now these are not the kids, these are the administrators and the educators.
These are the high school students, seniors.
Oh, and they really are. I did come to think about it. There were two groups in mine too. So what were they? The mastermind and the
out-of-towners, they call them.
Out-of-towners.
But they were the elite, the ones that were the basketball, not coach, the basketball chair, captain, the football captain, the cheerleader captain, student body president, etc. So it gave me a great opportunity to sit with people that really wanted to invest the time with me, and we went over our time because they really felt like discussing. And I met with the second group. It was about the same type of energy. But what I came away with, all the stresses, of course, was money, getting into college because they were seniors, worrying about parents, divorce, the state of the condition of the family, etc. The one undercurrent that was really remote that kept coming around was the expectation of parents. That was a very understated thing until we really discussed it.
It's kind of nice to hear that that's still a concern because you
Right.
really think that these kids are so independent today and they are so wise.
Yes.
And, so that's good to know, but not for them. I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when I meet with the parents, they tell me the children are always angry. Well, part of the process is that the way they say the best defense is an offense. So when the children are kind of angry, they don't have the discussion with their parents. It's kind of protecting themselves from disappointing the parents. And it's one major thing I work with parents to better communicate. Because that's what's needed.
That's interesting because I would think, I'm trying to think back to, I don't even want to, but I'm trying to think back to my senior year. And I think there was a concern about, oh my God, I know I have, but you're right, it was an expectation of parents. I know I have to go to college. What do I want to be when I grow up? And just, I'm going to pass, of course. So you've kind of gone under all that and found some real sources of anxiety and consternation, huh?
Yes. And they don't talk about it until you get them into the format of discussing where they're together on this, and then they start to really open up. And it was truly amazing. I had such an amazing experience. The principal even come in and said, got to get to your next class, because we were really getting into it, and they were opening up and expressing, which was a learning curve.
So did you
for me.
find a difference between the elite group and the out-of-towners, that in the consternations and the
They were basically the same, but the out-of-towners were the ones with the captains of the basketball team. They were more open. I think there was a greater sense of confidence and self-worth.
Really?
That came about. So when they were talking about the things that worried them, it enabled them to talk about the parent situation.
And the elite group, that's not the basketball people. And
No, that was like the mastermind group, they called it.
Oh, okay, that was the
Right, and it was a larger body of kids.
That
it was
was the head
35.
thing, yeah.
And they were less likely to open up because it was a bigger group, but we still hit the same subjects, and they did open up and talk about.
And did you do them separately?
No, it was in a group format.
Okay, but how did you make the division?
Well, one day was with the out-of-towners.
Oh, okay, you did do them separately. Okay,
Right,
yeah.
they would do them separately, yes.
Well, that would really be intimidating. But
Yes.
And so, okay, their concern is performing and to parents' expectations. What'd you tell them?
Well, I guess the part of what I wanted to get across to them is, who are they? What's their natural skills? Who are they? What their values are? And build on that. And the expectation of what we said before. What do you want to be when you grow up? My statement to them is, who do you want to be and what do you want to do? More to find out more about yourself.
More importantly, who do you want to be?
Yeah. So to help them understand that if you're doing what you are doing naturally, and the communication back to the parents is what's going to ease the frustration. If they stop communicating, all of us as parents start worrying more. Now we're guessing what's going on.
Right.
So we tell them to please talk about it, bring it out little bits, but that being judged or not being the expectation shuts them down.
Where does peer pressure and even one step further bullying play a factor in that? Do you deal with that? Because those are like, I would just think, the main boogaboos.
You're correct. It is. Bullying, and there's one statistic that amazes me is that up to 45% of middle school children have experienced bullying one way or another.
Wow.
And not necessarily been bullied, but watch their friends or watch it happen or be part of the bullying situation. So it's so widespread. But I think with the culture, and I'm originally from New Jersey, that we've really clamped down more on the bullying, so the physical aspect has lessened to a degree in school.
Oh, that's good to know, I guess.
But the peer pressure part, being ostracized, is far worse, and then the cyberbullying, which tops everything off because that's 24/7.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
So I know it's a self-esteem game, but it's hard at that age to, say, okay, I'm good and I'm going to go my own way. That's
right.
So, because you want to belong so badly. I mean, you think it's so important at that age. So, what is your message to those people?
It really starts with how do we build on them. We've heard about positive psychology. You've got to pull out what they're doing well.
Right.
And a lot of times I know myself as a parent, what did you do wrong? Well, what do you do well? And talk about it, not at the moment of someone doing something wrong, but just in conversation.
In general stuff.
Yeah. And I call it making the deposit.
Oh,
Go over
I
there,
love
say
that.
something positive, and then let it be. Walk away and let the child take that in. Wow, I just got a compliment.
And then if there's a withdrawal, then there's a
Yes.
little left in the tank. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, without the pressure of opening up to everything.
Now, how important is it, and do you deal with parents? Because not all parents are, most parents are just trying to get through. It's like, let me just get through these years, and maybe it'll get better.
Laurie, you really hit on something that's so powerful. And in the 2 years since we've met, I've even learned more about this myself. I'm not going to say they don't have the skills because that's unfair to them. What I will say is they don't know what to do. They're trying to please. They're trying to keep the children happy. And as we said, it's not their job to make them happy. It's to help them feel happy about themselves. Build their self-worth, build their self-esteem, so they can, be resilient and deflect bullying to a certain degree. But it is about them really understanding the child. And I always go back and forth with the iceberg concept. What you see above water is about 10 to 15%. What's below is 85 to 90%.
Wow.
So if the parent looks at that, and I did it with my children, that 10 to 15, that's my child. But I didn't see the whole person. So getting down below, and I tell them you got to wear a snorkel and an air tank, getting down below to really understand who you are is communication, conversation.
Yeah, wow. So what are you doing one-on-one? Are you doing, I love the group that you went into the school and said, okay, give me a bunch of people and let's see what we go. Are you doing one-on-one? How are you reaching folks?
Well, we do one-on-one, and it's always at the point when there's something really at risk here. So when the parents bring to me, they're really frightened, which I would wish it would be beforehand so we can work on a little quicker.
Yeah.
We do individuals, and I love doing that. It's probably the best thing I like to do to make that connection, whether it's a young child or an adult. But we also do the small groups, which is the life management skill programs. It's an after-school program. I chose the middle school, early middle school kids, because that's the transitional years, to help them more understand what they're going to be up against. And one of the things I start out with now, which I didn't 2 years ago, is I tell them, if you think life is going to be easy, it's not. To help them understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that impression. It's like, okay, if I go through all this crazy stuff as a kid, it's over. And it's like, no.
Right.
No. That's your training wheels.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Oh, I like that. And at some point, I remember you had a nickname called the neighborhood shrink.
Yes.
Is that still intact? I mean, have you been practicing on that?
I bring it out more now because I think it helps the young kids understand, especially the 15, 16-year-olds that are going through this transition, that I too, when I was that age, wasn't sure of who I was. And in my neighborhood, I lived in New York City, and when there was no cell phones, so you had to get out and really talk and meet the people. Everyone came to me, especially with their problems, and especially the girls, talking about their boyfriends. And I became known as the neighborhood shrink. Now, I loved being it because, number one, I got the attention, and it was something I did so naturally well. I was a good listener.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
Well, that gets me into why coaching. How did you? What made you decide? Because I know that you didn't start out saying I'm going to be a coach. None of us did, because there weren't even coaches then.
Right.
So,
right.
what made you decide to go from? Because you have a business background, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I was in corporate, a merchandising director. Had a bout with cancer. Was unable to fulfill what I thought was my destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was not able to do that, and able to find what my greatest passion and what my purpose is, was coaching. That came in a very natural form by going to a evening workshop, and the life coach was the facilitator, and that's all she wrote. I went and signed up.
The rest is history, as they
exactly.
say. Yes.
Yeah. So I knew I was meant to, and I was doing this as a corporate person, but just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to all of us. The coaching came along and you went, oh my God, we can get paid for this? This is a profession? All right.
Absolutely.
And then you move it on. So, but now you are, and it's funny, I took the same path. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a coach and all this stuff. And then I had to call on my background eventually, especially in 2008 when the economy crashed, because I had an HR background. And you're starting to call on your background, right? You're doing some business stuff too now?
Yes, and I was devoted to not becoming a business coach.
Me too.
I
Never
wanted
again.
the life track, because business was what I was. But as I started to speak to small business owners and friends of mine, and starting to give them advice, all those 25 some odd years would just come flowing out.
Yeah.
And they would tell me, great, you're great at this and all that. Once again, not acknowledging, not realizing that I had all that skill and training that I could use. So I started working with small business owners, especially with the human resource part of it. I'm not the financial person, but I will help them, set goals. But I help them with training the employees. A lot of them don't have the skills to manage people.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about earlier, the Millennials, which is a different ball game altogether, a different set of skills to manage them. So I help them recognize what they do, what they want from their business, and how to delegate.
So kind of team development in that sense, and then do you also do leadership management? And
yes, absolutely. And there is that shift. I was at Rutgers for about 5 hours, and for me to sit any place for 5 hours, it had to be interesting. Back in September, about the paradigm shift from management to coaching, or combining the two.
Yeah.
And it was right on the money. It's exactly what I feel, because that's how you motivate people.
Right, and before it was the rule. You want to rule people, and you want to. Motivation kind of was in there, but it was like it was fear. It was motivated by fear, And now it's like, it's much more effective if you can find another way. What do you find are the biggest challenges today in business? And you did mention millennials, and that's I don't want to say problem. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. So what do you find are the biggest challenges that businesses are facing today?
In this particular group that I'm working with, and I'm going to be speaking in Orlando in July, it is retention. Retention, because there is a quick changeover. And as you do your research and understanding and talk to millennials, what they're really looking for, I'm going to say the millennials, they're looking for more feedback from their manager, more continuity as far as the connectivity. Whereas instead of just being told what to do, they want a consistent connection. They need more validation. And they need more fulfillment. If not, then they'll go on to find it.
I remember even back in the day, it was like most people don't leave their job for more money. They leave it for more recognition and more appreciation.
Yes.
They just want to be appreciated, whatever they're doing. They want it to be acknowledged. And I think managers and executives are becoming more aware of that.
Yes.
Those are, I find them, and tell me if I'm wrong, I find that a hard nut to crack, because managers and executives feel like they have to know everything. So they don't want to show that little bit of vulnerability, well, I need some help here. And like the Uber guy who said, I need some skills. I'm really messing up here. And I'm not sure that was his decision, but I think it was the right decision, whatever it was. But so how do you deal with that?
One of the examples I use, I listened to the LinkedIn CEO when he gave about maybe a year and a half ago, and he talked about how he was a hard hitter and no nonsense and didn't accept this and was persistent, consistent. And then his wife spoke to him about being kinder and working with people, connecting with people. And he's done a phenomenal job, and he said it made completely difference in his life. He's enjoying his work more.
I was just going to say, not only in the people that he was supervising, but it's got to be more fun to not have a fear-based, bullying attitude where I got to be in charge and I have to be the strong one. And I look at our government today and I go, they can't be having a lot of fun in there. I don't know, maybe they are, but I don't think so.
That's a good example.
Yeah, it's like everything is fear-based and you be careful and security side. And so with the millennials, you said a whole different ballgame. What's different about that?
I think their need for validation, and they're more creative, so they want more input. They want to give more, which is a great opportunity from a lot of the business owners. Now, you have people that are looking for this. So the people that are fearful of letting go control, they need to control everything, are not going to have a good relationship with this type of person that's looking for more.
Right.
We're trying to help these, but what I try to do is help them understand delegating elevates. You're given responsibility, you're trusting them, now you manage the fact, but let them do it.
Right.
So that, number one, you could start focusing on other areas in your business.
So what do you tell the old timers that it's like, okay, let them do it, delegate, trust, blah blah blah? What do you really tell them? It's like,
I tell
that
them,
all sounds good, but what do you really tell them that's
especially
effective?
the old timers, I tell them it didn't work the way it did for us.
Yes, it's a whole new game.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. If you really want to build a team and you want your business to fit your life, not your life fit the business, you have to really be able to delegate and give responsibility and build trust. That's building the team first. And to create more of what you want. They need that vision.
Can millennials and X generations and baby boomers, can they all just get along, or is it better to give them specific deals and the other specific task, and can they really get along?
I think so. I think it's an educational part of communication more than anything. And great subject, because the millennials now have taken over the population over the baby boomers.
I know.
77 million compared to 76
so maybe
million.
the baby boomers should just retire and let them have the ball field. It's like, okay,
Absolutely.
you play. I've done my time. But so what do you think? I think one of the challenges, and I'm sure it is with the teens and the tweens and all that, is social media and our lack of human connection. It's like, do you find that in business also?
Well, if I can just go back to the children a little bit, the social anxiety is at almost epidemic proportions for some kids, certain ages.
Wow.
They just really can't connect. And many of the kids that I do one-on-one really struggle with that. And it's because they're on these games 20, 25 hours a week. Locked into something, even though they're connecting with somebody in the world with who they don't know what it is, they feel that's socializing. But when it comes to this, they're very uncomfortable and very stressed.
And don't know how to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they withdraw.
So then I'm thinking of the workforce that's in cubicles staring at their machine all day,
Yes.
and sending emails as opposed to getting up and going around the corner and talking to people. Do you see the same problem?
I do, and I do as the 35 and 40-year-olds, continue, because they're still part of the millennials, the beginning part of the millennials. I mean, I see their social skills, but to me, it's lessening with the younger group, the 25 and 30-year-olds. And texting while they're sitting across the table from each other is not a second thought.
No. You go to a restaurant, nobody's talking. They're all looking at their phones. It's really, I know I go to plays in the intermission. It's everybody pulls out a phone. It's a 2-hour play, really. I know you can live without it, but and I don't know if that's good or bad. We're certainly well informed. I'm not sure what we're doing with the information, though.
And it is an addiction. And I did have one senior in another high school tell me, this is an addiction. So I said, like an addiction. And he was a big kid. And he said, no. He was adamant about it. This is addiction. I can't let it down, because if I don't hear from somebody, I start to feel alone.
Wow.
And then, so it's what it has turned out to be. If it's not controlled, it runs their lives.
Yeah, and and it's odd because it's a form of communication that is stymieing communication face to face. So, and I don't know, it's replacing communication face to face, I guess. So
I can only give us an example is that I enjoy so much connecting with you, your energy. what they're missing.
I
must be
know,
insurmountable.
I know, and it's, I just can't see, I don't see it changing. I see, because I think the benefits are really there for all of this input, but and I'm amazed that managers realize that, you know what, I need to connect more with my employees, because really I would think that they think I need a new super duper computer, and I need, you know, a huge communication network or something. So I'm glad, I'm inspired and hopeful that people are saying, you know, we're realizing that you can't just do it all by technology.
There is a greater awareness out there. You
Yeah,
hear more and more
yeah.
about it.
But you remember, it was like, I guess it was 20 years ago when the MBA was the hottest thing in the world, and everybody was getting an MBA. And then employers realized, yeah, these people knew their management stuff. They didn't know how to talk to people. They didn't know how to work with teams. And so they had to go back and calculate the whole MBA program and add some human stuff in there so they could do, it wasn't just all. So
Right.
hopefully that's where we're headed. I don't know.
If I may,
Yeah.
I actually, in August, I'm going to be down at the University of Tampa and part of the coaching of the MBA program.
Wow,
Yeah, they're the first one
perfect.
in the
Yeah.
nation to do that. I find that there are more, I don't have the names, but this is something I find is so fascinating, because you can help them with a multitude of things, whether it's social skills or
Yeah.
being disciplined, time management, combine it all to really someone that's going through this MBA
Now
program.
this is a part of the MBA program, and they're having a coach come in
they're
and
having coaches come in.
wow.
Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal. I was so
Yes,
impressed.
I totally agree. It's like, yeah, because and I was surprised. I've done some work for NASA, and they have had an internal coaching program for 25, 30 years, and it's like,
Oh.
who knew and why?
foresight.
And it's like, well, because everybody's linear thinking, everybody is,
Yes.
and they realize if and you promote them, and then they don't know what to do. So it's like, yes, so they've been on top of the ball for a long time. So hopefully, it's following suit. That you might have made the change just or included businesses in your coaching just at the right time.
Because I think it'll help both the employees and the employers, so that the young adults feel more fulfilled and they become more proactive and responsible and feel good about their job. It helps the business.
Yeah,
Besides
definitely.
themselves.
Where do you think loyalty lies in the game this time? I mean, it used my day. You get a company and you stay there till you retire, by gum. And if you had a good resume, you'd have 2 companies on there, and that was it. Now, is loyalty a part of the game?
It is, but for that group we're speaking of, and I'm not bad about the millennials, I believe that they're wonderful. I do. I believe it's to them, their values first.
Loyalty to themselves,
Right.
To their
values.
to honoring.
Yes.
And you can't knock that. Even if you're an
Not at all.
employer, you can't knock that. It's good to be true to yourself
Right.
and put yourself first. I'll say that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it'd be nice to be with the company first every now and then, but it's okay.
And that's the skill set I
Yeah.
think the employers need. As we say in the coaching world, meet
Yeah.
them where they're at, and I think that'll make a big difference.
Yeah. So what do you think? Let's say if we were going to do priorities, loyalty used to be number one, and well, you know what? If you're the president of the United States, it is number one. I demand loyalty. But if you're not, if you're a regular business person, so what has switched as far as priorities and things that companies need and employees need?
One word:
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
empathy.
Empathy. Wow. Okay.
Really understanding what the other is feeling or going through, or what's important to them, by keeping yourself blocked in. And
I like that.
lately I've been telling people, when you build walls are usually built to keep things out, protection, but they also keep us in, and they prevent us from growing. So when I'm trying to talk to these business owners, is to take down these walls, open it
Yeah.
up, so you really have a greater sense, and that empathy will just really connect, and you can just go for that, because they'll read what's going on, they'll understand more without
Yeah.
being told.
And I'm starting to think that it all boils down to self-esteem. If you have enough self-esteem, then you don't mind opening up and letting someone else have a chance too. But if you're insecure about your talents and your abilities, you're going to keep yourself walled in, and nobody's going to
Yes.
see that shell beyond the shell, because you don't want people to know that, ooh, you're human. And I have people who go, oh, I could never be, because I still do mentor coaching for iPay. I could never do an executive coach. And it's like, no, that would be, and I go, executives are people too.
Yes.
And they are the people who need the coaches the most, because they can't break down. They have this, facade, I guess, for lack of a better word, that they're maintaining at all times. So I love this empathy. I think that is a perfect priority.
Yeah, it's a word that's not as understood as it should be. A lot of people connect it with sympathy. When I do my programs with anybody, I put sympathy, empathy, and apathy. So help them understand the difference.
There you go, yes. And hopefully you don't need sympathy to get the job done.
Absolutely.
And I feel sorry for my boss, I'll do it. But so the intelligence intelligence and quota, EQ,
Social
yeah.
intelligence,
And so that's become a high priority also.
It's really, and a lot of the school systems are finally starting to incorporate it.
Really?
Them.
Oh, that's
what
good
I'm
to
reading
know.
about, because it's so important.
Yeah.
That listening, active listening, or empathy, which comes up number one. How does a teacher, when you don't do your work and you don't sit up or pay attention in class, how does your teacher feel? I don't know. But when you reach them, maybe she feels that bad that she's not doing a job. Okay, so then how do we connect better with that teacher? Rather than pointing to the teacher and saying she's not teaching me correctly.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the problem, which is a whole different thing, where the parents don't take the side of the child all the time against the teacher. So it's like it's round and round and round. So it's someone has to intervene, and it sounds like that's what you're doing. It's like, wait, let's stop this for a minute.
Yes.
And rearrange the cogs in the wheel and see if we can get the wheel to actually go around productively.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't even, if I asked you, where does it start? What would you tell me?
Where does it start with the business aspect, with the children?
And I think they're pretty much
I think the younger, the better. I mean, the statistics that are phenomenal. Bullying is at its worst at 3 years old in pre. Yeah.
Oh
that's
my
where
gosh.
it really is, because it's not defined yet. They just think it's a child. And that's where they develop this. So now research is showing, maybe this is part of the educational process, how to get along, empathy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It has to start younger, because there's too much information available.
Yeah.
For these children, for the parents to be able to stay on top of.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. 3 years. No, that's just. So I'm glad you're in middle school. I think that's good. It's like I would say, but they really need coaches in high school. But I think in middle school, you're right. Get them as young as you can.
Right.
Got a little bit of experience. They have something they can compare it to, and then you can say, okay, how can we make this a little better for everybody? And then carry it on to the business if you can. We have 20 seconds left. I am so thrilled that you came on and that you've expanded your wealth of knowledge to not only teens who need it, and but also to businesses. Thank you, Rob. If you want to find out more about what he's doing, his website is at the bottom of the page. Thank you, Rob Imperato, for being such a fantastic guest, and I'll see you in 2 years.
Absolutely, Laurie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.